Tonight, we're taking a foggy stroll across the Yorkshire moors, and we forgot to stick to the road.
Bad move, because under that full moon, something is howling, and it's not homesickness.
We are sinking our teeth into American Werewolf in London, the 1981 horror comedy that blends terrifying transformation with wacky 80s humor.
We're talking mind-blowing makeup, undead best friends, and that legendary nightmare sequence that still messes us up.
So grab your backpack, and whatever you do,
don't stray off that path.
This is Slashback Cinema.
Before we get going, I just wanted to give a couple shout outs to some fans who've reached out recently. Chris in Burlington and Jason, they sent us some awesome recs for films to watch, and honestly, some stuff I'd never heard of. So we're definitely adding those to the list.
I'm really excited to dig into some of those. And they came just at a perfect time, because we're going to start talking about what we're going to be recording in the fall.
Yep.
So thanks for those suggestions. They're fantastic.
Awesome stuff. All right. American Werewolf in London. So we always kick it off with, have you seen this one before?
I've seen scenes from this one, but I've never seen the entire movie. I'm sure I just must have come across it on TV. So I sort of knew certain sequences, some of the famous ones, some of the funnier ones, but I don't think I've ever seen the whole thing all the way through. How about you?
I'd never seen this movie at all, or even scenes beyond the transformation scene. And I only really knew about that from just reading, it's probably Fangoria or something.
Right.
But, so I knew how legendary that scene was and had seen kind of stills from it. But first time seeing this one, and damn, dude, like, holy shit, this movie was amazing.
Oh, good. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was funnier than I expected it to be. I mean, I knew it was kind of a comedy. And so I had listened to an interview with John Landis, and he said it was a difficult movie to get made because he had been coming off of some comedies. Did what were the two movies he did before this that were pretty successful?
Kentucky Fried Movie. He also did Blues Brothers,
right?
Animal House.
Yeah, so he had come off of like all three of those were in the 70s, and Blues Brothers was 1980. So Werewolf came out in 81. So he was coming off of comedies, and the feedback he got from studios was, well, the people who want to make a comedy thought this movie was too horrifying, and the people that wanted to make a werewolf horror movie thought this movie had too much comedy in it. Then so that's interesting, because you and I have talked before about how one of our favorite genres is horror comedy. And so it makes me wonder if this is one of the earlier movies that makes a concerted effort to be funny and also be really scary at the same time.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was digging up as I was reading about this film was, this was kind of whether it actually was the first film that had this combination of horror and comedy, but so maybe this is the OG patient zero for the horror comedy genre, which, man, it was really well done. And I mean, it's interesting because it's such a mix of elements and almost the comedy combined with the horror. I think what we like about it is there's definitely some like scary scenes and some really gross shit in this movie, but they almost combined it to make it something bigger than it would be if it had just been truly just a horror film or a comedy on its own.
Yeah, I like the fact that sometimes people respond to the horror with kind of a sense of humor. At one point, he like wakes up from a horrible nightmare, and he kind of says something like, well, that happened, or something like he has this way of like downplaying his nightmares that I thought the cast did a really good job. They were funny, and they kept it light. It's also about two buddies going cross country, and so Ryan, people in our families may not know this, but you and I took a cross-country trip. I don't know if anyone related to us has ever heard about that trip before, but I'm just kidding. We talk about it constantly. Did you, when you were watching this, so you and I went across the U.S. In college. Did you have any flashbacks to travel as a young man, or did it remind you of our experience backpacking across the country?
We really tried to stay off of the moors. I think there weren't too many werewolves, or there wasn't much lycanthropy involved in our trip. But
right,
there were moments of almost driving off of cliffs and dying in the Grand Canyon. But no werewolf.
Yes, I think we were at Yellowstone, and a bear broke into the car that was next to our car, but not our car, and then just tore the inside of that car up as we were camping like 10 feet away in a tent.
That is true. And we woke up in the middle of the night to hear the and it was like the floating through the campground. So yeah, okay, I take that back. There were some beasts involved in our trip.
That was one of our closer calls. But before we get too far into it, you want to do a summary for us?
Yeah, sure. So as you mentioned, it starts off with these two friends, David and Jack, and they're two American college students, and they've gone to Europe for this backpacking trip. So they're they're there in the moors of the countryside in Britain, and they wander into this pub, the Slaughtered Lamb, and you could tell something weird's going on. Anyway, they head out because the vibe's super creepy there, and they wind up being attacked by a werewolf in the moors because, of course, they actually did go off the path. And Jack is actually killed, and David wakes up a couple weeks later in this hospital, and he's having these weird dreams, wondering what actually happened. Was it real? Was it imagined? You come to find out that indeed there was a werewolf that killed his friend, and he's unfortunately turning into one as well. So it's him trying to figure out, is it really happening? Is it all in his head? And the plot and story unfolds from there.
Did you know anything about this movie? You said you'd never seen it before, but
Well, aside from the fact that it's one of the longest movie titles ever, that sort of tells it's an American werewolf in London.
yeah, yeah, the title really lays it out for you.
Whose friend gets killed was the rest of the title, but they did trim it down a little bit. Well, I guess really I knew it was a werewolf film. Beyond that, no. Like, I really didn't know it was a comedy. I thought it was more in the spirit of like The Howling.
Yeah.
And when I went in to watch it, I was expecting it to be kind of like Silver Bullet, like 80s cheese and kind of like a little bit schlocky. But this film really, I kept thinking about it. I'm like, holy shit, it felt fresh and almost stood out from, we talk about how 80s a movie feels, and there was a little bit of that, but it really felt like a timeless film. Like the humor was still sharp. The storytelling, the cinematography, the
Yeah.
special effects, like, man, it was really well done.
The thing I mostly knew about this movie was that it has a famous transformation scene because Rick Baker
Right.
is the guy who did the makeup. And boy, this like took it to another level. I can't imagine what it would have been like in 81 to see this in a movie theater. Rick Baker, he spent months and months working on that transformation sequence. When he went to see the movie in the theater for the first time, the audience cheered. And I can totally see why. It's something you and I have talked about before. Like, contemporary movies with CGI don't quite have that same kind of visceral look as these 80s movies. And that transformation sequence, there had never been anything like it in a werewolf movie before. And I'm not sure there's been anything like it since.
No,
It's really incredibly well done.
incredibly well done. Some giant cojones on Rick Baker and Landis, because they didn't shoot that scene in the dark or under kind of low light. It's full light, and they're just like, you're gonna see it all, and it's gonna really knock your socks off. It really delivers. I was definitely into werewolves growing up and kind of being obsessed and thinking about, what would actually happen if you turned into a werewolf. And I feel like a lot of like werewolves prior to this, the way they would show them is this transformation where they grow hair and teeth. But this really showed kind of the physical agony that would be involved with that like the bones cracking and popping and limbs elongating, eventually ends in his like whole face like distorting. Boy, still holds up.
Yeah, this movie, did you read about this? It won the first ever Academy Award for Best Makeup. They like created a new Academy Award category and then gave it to this movie, and it's totally deserving. And it feels like if it was made today, it could still win.
We always talk about lore too. There's so much lore with this film. One of the things that popped up that I thought was really funny was the actor. And when I was looking at him, I'm like, why do I know this guy? David Naughton. He's from the Dr. Pepper commercials from back in the day. I'm a pepper, you're a pepper. If you grew up in the 80s, you knew these commercials and you knew him. I'm a pepper, he's a pepper, she's a pepper, we're a pepper. Wouldn't you like to be a pepper too? When that scene was filmed and complete, the crew danced around him while he was still wearing his werewolf makeup, and they were singing, I'm a werewolf, you're a werewolf. Wouldn't you like to be a werewolf too? Which I thought was so funny.
Is there video of that?
I don't know. If they didn't film it, like, boy, that should be on a special release extended edition for sure.
I have another question for you about David Naughton, the guy that plays David, the main character. I was like halfway into the movie when I realized that this actor was not the guy who played the main character in Gremlins.
Yeah,
like
you're
Billy
right.
in Gremlins, Zach Galligan.
Right.
When I looked it up, I couldn't believe it was a different actor.
Similar vibe. Yeah. They got the 80s look going on. Yeah. The other piece of lore, I don't know if we keep this in, is he's one of the themes of this movie that was supposedly a part of the story coming together was Jewish identity, and that being kind of a backdrop. And Landis, the director, is Jewish. But when they cast David and Jack, who were supposed to be two Jewish Americans in Britain, he didn't realize that David Naughton was uncircumcised. And there's a lot of full frontal nudity of him running around for various reasons in this film, but they had to be careful how they were shooting it because he was not a circumcised man. Like,
They didn't make him drop his pants.
yeah.
We need a Jewish actor for this. Could you please?
Well, let's see the equipment. Anyway, moving on.
Chart says he's from New York.
Well, I think he's a Jew.
What makes you say that?
I've had a look.
Really, Susan? That wasn't very proper.
I thought this movie did a good job with the main character kind of wrestling with the kind of ethics of what he did. Because one of the parts of the plot is that his best friend who is killed, what's that guy's name? Jack?
Yeah, Jack. Yeah.
So Jack is killed, but he keeps coming back. He's like undead. And at first I thought he was like a zombie, but he's not really a zombie. He's not like eating brains or anything. He's just not dead. Apparently, if you're killed by a zombie, is this like new to the mythology?
A werewolf. Yeah. No,
sorry,
this was
yes.
new. This is a new angle. Yeah. I had, go
Yeah.
on.
If you're killed by a werewolf, then you walk the earth as just an undead being until that werewolf is killed.
Yeah, I don't know. That was a whole new jam, but it was an interesting take. Those conversations with Dead Jack as he's progressing through his decomposing phases throughout the movie are some of my favorite moments in this film.
So Jack, it shows up like 3 or 4 times in the movie, and each time he shows up to tell David, man, you gotta kill yourself. I really need you to kill yourself. And he says it kind of like a friend would say it. He's not haunting him. He's more like, buddy, do me a solid. I need you to take one for the team. I'm walking the earth. I can't die until you kill yourself.
The last remaining werewolf must be destroyed. It's you, David.
What?
Please believe me. You'll kill people. Nurse! Listen to me!
Nurse!
Take your life, David. Kill yourself before you kill others.
One of the conversations we had about Silver Bullet was the werewolf in that movie walks very upright. And I was asking you about how much wolf do you like in your werewolf and how much man do you like in your werewolf?
Right. What's the right mix? Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like Silver Bullet and American Werewolf in London are two opposite end movies. Because in Silver Bullet, it's clearly just the guy strolling with like a dog mask on. In this movie, there's no human in him at all. He's just totally a wolf. When he transforms, he just transforms into an animal. And that Landis said that's what he wanted. He wanted it to be kind of like a hellhound. I was curious what your thoughts were about that.
Yeah, good call out. And also reading about The Howling, which wound up being a little bit more towards the Silver Bullet side of things. I think we should definitely watch that one next to kind of round out our 80s werewolf films. But
Yeah.
for this one, I tend to like the bipedal. Is that right?
Yeah. The on 2 legs.
On 2 legs werewolf. That's kind of my jam, like a little bit in the space there. But this was so well done that he sold me. If I have to land or craft my perfect werewolf, it would not be on all 4s, but it was a beastly werewolf. So, it works in this film.
Did you have any more lore? Or did you want to get into the favorite scenes?
So top scene in this film, obviously, is that transformation scene. That was so well done and really holds up. And then we're talking about decomposing Jack and those conversations as they're kind of sprinkled throughout the film. But the final one, honestly, is one of my favorite scenes. So the kind of setup to that was the night before he's been warned that he's going to turn into a werewolf. It's a full moon. And David actually, he has no recollection of it, but he did turn into a werewolf and went out and killed all these people. The next day, he's with his girlfriend, Alex, the nurse, who's, kind of fallen in love with him, even though she knows he's got some issues. They're going to go meet the head doctor and try to work things out. And he finds out that there's been all these murders. And he's like, oh my God, stop the cab. It was me. He freaks out and eventually finds himself in this porno theater, which is such an insane backdrop for how this all goes. But so he walks in the porno theater, sits down in the back.
Just to briefly interrupt you, they had actually foreshadowed this porno movie several times in the movie. Like you see ads for it. And when you saw ads for it early in the movie, I'm like, are they just advertising a rated X movie in the background of this movie? So I Googled it. It's not a real movie, but I didn't realize watching it that they're setting up this sequence that's going to take place during the porno movie.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Well, this movie actually got an X rating when it was first released or going to be released. They had to really cut it back, but they filmed that porno that you're seeing on screen during this film for this film. So that's kind of funny. So anyway, they're in the theater. This porno's showing on the screen. There's all these shaded characters in the theater. His buddy Jack shows up and starts having this conversation with him, and he's like, I'd like to introduce you to some of my new friends.
The people he's killed are coming back, and some of them are like super pissed off.
David, this is Harry Berman and his fiancée, Judith Browns.
Hello.
Hello.
And these gentlemen are Alf, Ted, and Joseph.
Can't say we're pleased to meet you, Mr. Kessler.
What shall I do?
Suicide.
You must take your own life.
They're all making suggestions on the best way for him to kill himself. It's just
Yes, they're under debating.
so over the top. Yeah.
Yes.
Man, so funny.
I had a question for you about Alex. She plays this nurse who dresses his wounds, and he's in the hospital for weeks. And then for, I guess, just to move the plot along, when he leaves the hospital, he's got no place to go, and his friend that he'd been traveling with has died. So she just takes him back to her place, and then they start sleeping together immediately. Do you think this is like what national health care is usually like? Is this what America is missing out on, Ryan?
I was thinking so. The home care is just amazing over there. Just
Yeah.
next level.
If you're gonna get turned into a werewolf, it seems like you need to go to a country that has national health care. They're really gonna take care of you.
Yeah, if you turn into a werewolf on this side of the ocean or the pond, you might be out of luck. I don't think that's
Doesn't
covered.
seem that way.
Pre-existing condition.
The very first time that a werewolf attacks David and Jack, the werewolf jumps on Jack and just starts mauling him, and he's just covered in blood. And David just takes off running.
I know.
Just he
It's like
sprints. You really get to know your friends when you find out what their reaction is going to be to you getting attacked by a wild animal.
It's true. Yeah, it did take me back to in our high school days when we had kind of given up on trick or treating. I don't remember what grade it was, but anyway, we decided to jump back, and it was you, me, and Mark. And we
yeah.
shouldn't have been trick or treating at this point, but we were loading up. We had the call of the candy. We loaded up. We had a big, hefty sacks, and we were about to wrap it up. Then we came around that corner, and those guys were hiding in the bush and jumped the three of us and knocked us all to the ground. Well, I believe Mark took off and left us behind, and you and I were on the ground battling these guys, holding on to our bags of candy, being dragged down the street. So we were in it together,
Yes.
man.
The Call of the Candy is my favorite Jack London novel, so you're really taking me back. I think that's right. I think you learn who your friends are by when you get attacked, who is going to stick by your side and who is going to take off. And we stuck by each other.
It's
We
true.
took our beating together.
And we walked away with our bags of candy too. We had to,
Yeah,
clean
That's the
them up.
important thing.
Yeah. Anything else for scenes on this one?
I wondered why he picked London. It seems like if you're going to pick like
Yeah.
ancient town that has a monster, to me, I think Eastern European.
Yeah, I did think that was interesting that they set it over there. Like just thinking about the logistics of filming too.
Yeah.
Clearly they spent some money on this film in terms of location, budget. They didn't necessarily cast well-known actors, so maybe they saved a little bit of money there. But I don't know. I think that helped add to the flavor of the film by setting it outside of the U.S. Like it gave it a little bit of a little bit of an exotic cachet.
Did you hear this story? The director said they wanted to film it in London, but when the studio in London that they were going to film it with found out that the two main actors were American, they said, "Oh, well, you can't film it in London because you don't have enough of a British cast." And so John Landis said, "All right, looks like we're doing American Werewolf in Paris." and then London said, "Oh, you know what? It's okay. Maybe we can make an exception just this one time." That's how it ended up being American Werewolf in London.
I also heard that like very few films actually allowed to be filmed in Piccadilly Circle there, but he did a screening for one of his other films. Maybe it was Blue Brothers, for all the police, and it bought a lot of goodwill to make this film happen. And I guess he got this really brief window to shoot that one scene, which just thinking through the logistics of, because you watch that scene, and it's like there's so much shit going on that he really pulled it off. It was impressive.
Yeah, I read they had to film between 2 and 4 a.m. and shut down that intersection. And so, yeah, it is really impressive. I think all the budget of this movie, what was it, $6 million? All went into makeup effects and then the location scouting. And then they ended up hiring unknown actors because that's probably all the money they had left.
Right.
You ready for Stabby scores?
Yeah, let's close it out.
Stabby time.
You're up.
So as I talked about, I like this movie a lot. The special effects I'm always amazed when a movie that's 45 years old can still visually hold up. The movie does not feel dated at all. The references don't feel dated. There's not a lot of clothing or haircuts or references to events in the 80s. So it feels like when you watch it now, it's pretty contemporary. The major problem I had with this movie is it felt like the script sometimes had dead ends where there's a couple of storylines that just don't go anywhere. Like the doctor's doing research, but none of the doctor's research matters to the plot. The fact that Alex is a nurse and she's working with this one Indian kid who knows one word in English, that's not really relevant to the movie. There's like 2 or 3 different subplots that get introduced that seem kind of pointless. And I also thought, is she going to be able to like talk him out of being a werewolf, or can she save him? That's kind of hinted at in the movie, but that doesn't go anywhere. And yet I found the movie incredibly entertaining. The gore is still shockingly good to this day. It has genuinely good jump scares. I think the acting is good. So I'm saying 4 out of 5 wolf bites.
Nice.
How about you?
Yeah, same. Like it still feels fresh. Like, and it really captured my attention. The subplot stuff, I really it didn't stick with me in the way that it stuck with you. There's certainly pieces there, but it just between the mix of horror, comedy, it's so well acted, the scenes and setting, the locations, and the way the story is paced. I will say that when you get to the end, there's been some complaints about how abrupt it ends, but that didn't bother me. But it also leaves you thinking about, well, what happened to all of the people that he just killed, and what's next. So I don't know. This one, I was expecting Silver Bullet, and it's way beyond that, and in some ways top of the pile for me for what we've watched. So you might want to sit down for this. I know you're sitting down. I'm gonna land this one at 5 out of 5 wolf bites. Shawnee.
Wow.
Yes.
Top of the line.
Top of the
Full
line.
praise. You're going all in.
I'm all in.
It seems like John Landis is like the Judd Apatow of the 1980s. With Kentucky Fried Movie, Animal House, Blues Brothers, Trading Places, Beverly Hills Cop 3, Coming to America. It seems like there are certain voices that have their finger on the button of comedy or horror in a certain era. And Landis seems to be like mostly known for his 80s comedies because he was just cranking those things out.
Yeah.
So that's it. Are we done?
Yeah. Let's bring it in for a close here.
That wraps up another trip down memory lane. Hopefully you enjoyed revisiting An American Werewolf in London as much as we did.
Don't forget to follow us on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, and subscribe however you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. And if you do love the show, leave us a review. It really does help other people find out about the podcast.
Yeah, if you can review us on your podcast app or go into our social media. It really does make a difference. And we want to hear from you. I love the mail that we've been getting from people.
Yeah,
People
awesome.
have suggested really good movies. It's just exciting to hear from somebody that listens and just says, hey, I like that episode. So if you want to reach out, if you have a memory from the 70s or 80s or a classic movie you'd like us to dissect, drop us a line at slashbackcinema.com because your suggestions keep the conversation alive.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.